Hey, I want to talk to you real quick about 3 rules of engagement for Sunday mornings. And I admit that some of these might actually make Sunday a little bit uncomfortable for you, but it's what helps make it a really great experience for a guest. But first, let's start with like this view. Check this out. When a guest comes in on a Sunday morning to Lakeline or to Steiner, what they walk into is what can feel kind of like what this feels like. Now, granted, there's people around and things, right? But you look behind me, right? And you just see this big open space, and it's a little bit daunting. Like, what is that? And where do I go? And how do I get to the right place? And for a guest who's walking in for the first time, that can be how it feels. It's that wide-eyed wonder look, like, where is the worship center? And where are the bathrooms? And if they got kids in tow, how do I get to kids ministry? And so, so maybe they see something kind of over our shoulders, like we have here behind us where we've got the kids check in. Okay, so I guess I walk over to there, but they look around a little bit and they don't know exactly where to go. And what we want to do is we want to become experts in connecting people to Jesus and then connecting people to the body of Christ here at Hill Country. And so that means that we've got to become really good at a couple things. The first thing that we have to become good at is we have to become good at seeing the person who walks in and they do have kind of that wide-eyed wonder look, right? And you've seen it. They're kind of like looking around and they don't know where they are. And you can kind of see them kind of, eye in the space. So you want to become an expert at noticing that. But then you want to become really keen on a few things in particular, right? And so rule number 1 is this. When we're talking about helping people engage on a Sunday morning, we want to have this rule that says we want to make sure that nobody feels like a nobody, right? That everybody has somebody, said another way. So we don't want anybody to feel like they're alone, right? We don't want anybody to walk in and feel like they walk into a big space. We don't know where they're at with Jesus. Like, they might be kicking the tires of faith. They might be like, churched and they're just kind of trying to find a new place. They might be de-churched. Something has happened in their past. They feel kind of distant. And when we see somebody who walks in, because we don't know what's going on in their heart, but we do know what God's called us towards, we want to do our very best to help everybody know that this is a place where they're welcome. And one of the things that's really key to that is that nobody feels like a nobody. Everybody feels like they have somebody. So you want to notice the person who's getting coffee all by themselves and there's nobody they're waiting on. You want to notice the person who's sitting in a seat and there's nobody around them. You want to notice the person who's kind of leaning up against a wall and there's nobody by them. The person who's walking up the path and nobody's in tow. And I would just encourage you to internally begin to pray, God, is this something that I should step into? Now, here's the deal. You should for sure step into it, but it might be a stretch for you. And this is where it could get uncomfortable for you to do this next thing. But I think if you do, you might find that God really honors it. And that is that you might need to be the person who in that moment says, hey, how can I help this person not be alone today? And maybe that means that they sit with you. Or maybe that means that you introduce them to someone who they can sit with. You introduce 2 people who are alone to each other so that they can have somebody who they can enjoy just that service with and not feel totally alone. It's a weird feeling, isn't it, to walk into a space and to not know anybody? And imagine that internally you kind of feel like you're in a space where there's nobody for you either. In that moment, I want to just encourage you to have this real for the one mentality. And so look for a person who's by themselves and be willing to go the extra mile so that they realize that they're actually not alone, like physically not alone, but also even spiritually not alone. You know who I see demonstrate this really well? Lori Carlson. I've seen Lori welcome a brand new person and invite them to sit through service with her. And that person's actually ended up getting more connected to the body of Christ. As Lori got to know this one individual in particular, she found out that this individual really needed to get connected with a group of young adults, and she worked very diligently to help connect that person with the young adults. You know who else is doing this well? It's Curtis and Natalie McNeil. They're table hosts with us, brand new table hosts with us for Discovery Hill Country. But they've got some guests around their table this month that they're feeling like maybe they could help get connected a little bit more. And so they're actually trying to figure out how they can do lunch with them afterwards, like after service, after Discovery Hill Country. That's not an expectation of a table host. If you're ever asked to be a table host, we don't expect that. But that's an extra mile moment where they're saying, hey, I want these folks to know that they matter because everybody deserves to be somebody, right? And so make sure that when you see somebody alone, you step into that moment and you help lend your relational status to fix that, right? First rule. Second rule is this. Second rule is help your buddies to see everybody, and I would maybe add else, to see everybody else. It's really tempting for us sometimes as a team to turn inwards and to just talk with our friends and to love so much being on the connections team that we actually forget that we got on this to help everybody else feel welcome. We feel so excited to be with our team that we can turn inward and just focus. And so we can get in little mini huddles around the coffee station, or little mini huddles around, maybe the welcome center, or little mini huddles around the lobby, and totally missing the opportunity to connect with everybody else. And it's great that you got friends in that moment, but Sunday mornings as a connections team member are not about you connecting with your friends. It's about you helping everybody else connect with others. It's about helping people connect with Jesus and with his family. And you can't do that when you're turned inward. And so turn outward. And that can happen between connections team members and another connections team member, but that can also happen innocently by a friend who walks in on a Sunday morning, and you greet them and they're so happy to see you that they just kind of like capture you for a moment. They're really glad to see you because you're their friend, right? And so they start chit-chatting with you, and it's just real natural to say like, hey, how did the kids' game go? Or how did the dance recital go? And next thing you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 guests have walked by while you've been fully engaged in a 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute conversation with somebody who you actually already have a relationship with. They're already connected. You already know them. They already know you. There's nothing sort of like gained or lost here, except that it just, feels really good to catch up with a friend. But Sunday mornings in that moment are not about catching up with friends. It's actually about catching up with people, helping people catch up with the king and the king's kids, right? Like helping people connect who are disconnected. They might be walking in, a person might be walking in, kicking the tires of faith, trying to figure things out. Or they might be walking in, and they're far away from God and they just don't know kind of like what to do next, and so and so they're trying church out, right? And we don't want to miss that moment. So the way that you can help your buddies, see everybody else is two things. One, you can just kind of prep it ahead of time and say, hey guys, when I'm serving in this role, man, I love seeing you, but I'm on mission, and I'm trying to be real intentional about making sure that nobody feels alone. I want everybody to have the kind of friendship we have. And so I might be a little short with you, but we'll catch up later. Or you can even say like, hey, if you want to be a part of what I'm doing, like jump in with this with me. It'd be really cool for you to kind of leverage your relational status to meet others. And so, if rule number 1 is make sure that everybody knows there's somebody, and rule number 2 is make sure your buddies see everybody else. Rule number 3, the final rule, is this. For rules of engagement, it is always convert 1 to 2. Think about that. Say that out loud maybe. Always convert 1 to 2 or more, right? So what I mean by that is this. Somebody else said it kind of like this. Always be connecting dots so that you can always be connecting dots. Somebody walks in, they're by themselves. You get into a conversation with them, and it's kind of down the philosophy of ministry, idea of who are you, where are you at spiritually? How can I help you take your next step? Let's just say it goes that far. It won't normally, but let's just say it does. Where it would start with like is, hey, how are you doing? Welcome. It's good to have you here. I'm sorry. What's your name? Oh, my name is John. John, man, I'm Jeremy. So nice to meet you, John. Hey, how long you been coming to Hill Country? Oh man, today's my first Sunday. No way. Oh my gosh, John, that's awesome. Here's where you convert 1 to 2. After you chit chat with John for a little bit, let your peripheral go just a little bit to the side. Now, don't turn your gaze off, that conversation with John, but let your eyes just be mindful of who's around you, and your heart be prayerful. Lord, help me to see a place that I can help John get connected, and look for an opportunity to say something like, and it might just be with another greeter. John, man, I got to introduce you to my friend. John, this is Robert. Robert's also on our connections team. And Robert, this is John. It's his first Sunday here. What? No way, right? Here's why. By many different measures of sort of sociological studies, most people need about 7 touch points before they feel comfortable. If you can help a person feel like they have connected in 1 or 2 or 3 ways, that person is going to walk out on a Sunday morning feeling like they are much more connected to Hill Country than when they walked in. So if they walk out and now they don't just know you, but they also know Robert, Maybe you took that moment to help your buddies, like look out for somebody else. So they walked into the worship center, and now your friends who are a little more mindful walked over and said, hey, how you doing? My name is, right? The host came up and maybe said, hey, fill out a Connect card. And they did. So now there's another touch point. Maybe somebody waved to him in the parking lot. Mark Harrington at Steiner is so good about that, right? So he waves to somebody in the parking lot. Now that's another touch point, right? They walk out, and there is a exponentially greater chance that they're going to know that this is a local body that cares for them. And more importantly, that this might be a place where they can find God. I know we took a little bit of time today, but I want to just encourage you in those 3 rules. Man, help everybody know that there's somebody. Help your buddies see everybody else, and always convert 1 to 2 or more. Those 3 rules of engagement are going to make you super effective on a Sunday morning.